Okay, the power is in the mindset. So what Tom just spoke about, we're going to cover some of that here. So it's perfect timing. So as we go through, ever wonder why some who are not as smart or as creative as you are, they're succeeding faster than you? Any of you wonder that? Because we have some brilliant people on here. We know that's who's attracted to E4E, right? The brilliant ones. So your brain actually believes everything you tell it, and your unconscious mind tries to accommodate it. You ever been in an accident? Ever start to relive that? Tell that story over and over and over again? What does that do for you? It brings those emotions back up and the anxiety. Or did you ever make a mistake on the stage or something and you keep reliving it? That's not good for you because your brain doesn't know if that just happened or if that happened years ago. I just finished a 2-year journey in November and created my NLP practitioner certification. And some of you may or may not know what NLP is. Others may. Will, if you'll put my questionnaire up there, I'd appreciate it. Can you do it while I'm sharing or do I need to stop? There we go. Here's your questions. If you will answer one of those. You're trained in NLP, heard of it, don't know much about it, never heard of it, or use NLP in your business. If you'll submit your answers, I would appreciate that. Just a little more time for that. Okay, as soon as we have our answers, Will, if you'll let me know. Okay.
There you go.
Perfect. So 42% have heard of it, but don't know much about it. Some are using NLP in their business and 35% have never heard of it. Well, let's talk about it a little bit. How's that? Let's see if we can get this to continue on. Oh, there we go. Okay, NLP. It's neuro-linguistic programming is a powerful sales psychology that is composed of 3 most influential components involved in producing a human experience. The neurology, it controls and regulates how our body functions. The language determines how we interact and communicate with other people. The programming determines the types of models we create. So we're going to talk a little bit about NLP, but we're going to talk more about the power in the words you use. Do you know every word you speak influences what you do, how it influences your unconscious mind? I'm going to ask you some of these words. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute because I want you to answer these and I want to see your answers. Okay? When I ask this question, I'm going to give you some words and I want you to tell me in the reactions, use the little reaction down at the bottom, if it's a positive with a thumbs up or a negative for you. So does this word create a positive or a negative? Okay, the first word I'm going to ask, when I say crazy, does that create a positive or a negative? Okay, I'm seeing some of both. Okay. Use your reactions. We can see it. Oh, I see. We have just spaces, huh? Okay, use your thumbs up or thumbs down if you can. That would be better. Okay, when I say stress.
Karen, I got the thumbs down.
You don't have it on yours?
No.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay. Well, then let's just do a, I love Kathy's. Okay, so let's just do it physically. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. How's that? We won't use the reactions. Okay, let's go with the next one on stress. Is that a thumbs up or thumbs down? Interesting. You see, we have both. So the words we use can mean one thing to us and something to someone else. So again, thinking about the words that we use daily. If I say full plate, is that a positive or a negative for you? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Love it. Okay, if I say busy, what does that mean for you? Positive or negative? Interesting. Love it. Okay, wild. I use the word wild. Will gave 2 thumbs up on that one. Okay, what about the word explosive? Are you neutral or what, Will? Oh, Bill's kind of neutral there too, okay. What about the word test? Kara's neutral on that one. Okay, how about shout? Now Kathy's neutral on that one. Okay, what about snap? Okay, challenge. Stretch. Some had to think about that one. Now this last one, a friend of mine, and they happened to be on here with E for E, happened to throw this one out, but it was marriage. Is that a positive or a negative? I'm glad to see all these positives on here. That's awesome. Great. Okay, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen now. Okay. Get it to move again. There we go. The problem for most of us, just because the way our brains work, we focus not on the positive, we focus on the negative. What we should do is focus on the positive and not the negative. You know, we always talk about what we don't want. I don't want to fail. No, I want to succeed. I don't want to fail that test. I want a positive. I want an A on that test. I don't want to lose that contract. I want to keep that contract. Those are things that we need to look at, but our brain automatically goes to the negative. That's why you'll see so much negative even in marketing, because we relate to that so easy. Now, no need to worry. You have the opportunity to write the ending to every story. And this is what I've been saying lately, because what I say creates that. How I feel about it, I react to it. Do you know you only have 7 seconds to make a first impression? That's really, really important that we realize that. And that means even on Zoom, 93% of people's judgment of others are based on non-verbal inputs like body language. Did you realize that? That's pretty impressive amount. Okay. Only 38% come from the tone of your voice. We start thinking about the tone of our voice. Only 7% from what you actually say. So does that let us know how important those 7% are, that we have to be clear and concise when we're saying what we want? You know, Tom was already talking about it. Are you clear about your story? Are you very clear about what you're saying? So valuable. When I used to train my sales teams, I used to tell them all the time, if you talk to your prospective buyer, and you keep talking, you sold them everything, and then you just bought it all back. So we have to be careful that we're not throwing up everything about our business, about our product, and keep talking about it. You have to tell about it and be silent. I used to hear a thing in my business that said, wait, and it's why am I talking? So you share and then you wait. There's 6 6 body language mistakes, and I'm going to share each of those here. And again, this is how it's reflected in a negative rather than a positive. Avoiding eye contact. Have you ever been talking to someone and they keep looking down or they keep looking past you? You are not going to influence them and build trust unless you have eye contact. The next thing's the arms crossed. Some people not only cross their arms, they cross their legs as well. So what kind of reflection is that when you're crossing your arms? You're leaning away from them. You're coming back. That is not engaging and coming forward. So make sure when you're trying to influence your potential buyer, you're not making these language mistakes with your body. You can also read them of what they're thinking by that language as well. What if they're not smiling? If they're smiling, do you automatically feel like you've got a little bit of rapport there and you're at least getting through a little bit? When they sit back and they're not smiling or you're not smiling, either way, it puts a barrier. Slouching. Now, it's a little different with us being on Zoom because you see people lean back in a chair or lean forward. But when you're in person and you're seeing this, the slouching says there's really not interest. You're not really talking their language. And when we get to shake hands again, a weak handshake. I know that's a problem for all of us because even now when you do see someone, you want to reach for the hand that's like, oh, sorry, I can't do that right now with COVID. But when it comes to it, a weak handshake, it's got to be a strong handshake. A weak handshake says we don't trust. What if they're too close? Even on Zoom, you can get too close. So be careful that you're not doing that, whether it's online and it's working through Zoom or whether it's in person. People need their space, so don't invade that space. It used to be a tease with the kids, you're in my bubble. And so don't get in their bubble, give them space. Now, what kind of learner are you? Okay, we talked about the body language, but what kind of learner are you? Are you a visual learner? Visual learners are just what it says. They like to see. They like to watch. They need to see things. I'm a very visual learner. So I love the fact on Zoom that we can see each other. And I want to see a presentation. I want to see the information. So if you're a visual learner, that's how we need to talk to you. Sorry, it's not moving again. There we go. Are you an auditory learner? Do you have to hear everything? Are you a great listener because you're auditory? That's important to know that when you're also talking and you're trying to sell. That's part of the psychology in it. Are you kinesthetic? Are you one that needs to be able to touch things? Are you a hands-on person? Are you auditory digital? Auditory digitals are the ones that like the facts and figures and they're all the statistics and they're so analytical. Now, have you seen people that you've been talking to and you've been trying to sell to and they look like a deer in headlights? Or do they look like this? It's because you're talking the wrong language. When you're building rapport, you have to speak their language. So if I'm visual and you're trying to show me all the stats and figures, you have just glazed me over. I want to see it. Just let me see what's going on and then tell me a little bit about it. Keep showing me. If I'm auditory digital and you keep wanting showing me this webinar and it's going longer and longer, in their mind, they've shut you off. So you've got to be very careful that when you're doing this and you're building the rapport with them, you're building it in their language, not your language. When you build rapport, that just means you're building up a place where you're calming them down and you're building trust. Pacing. It's like someone running faster than the other person and you're trying to have a conversation. When you're thinking about working with that potential client, you want to pace at the same time they are. So if they're slower talking, you're going to talk a little slower. If they're faster, you're going to pick up the speed. You pace so you walk together with them. The next thing is mirroring. Now, most of us have heard this through our entire life, business life, that when you mirror someone, they automatically start to have rapport with you. Now, we don't want to be so dramatic that we do something like this, but to mirror what they're doing, keeping their pace, mirroring what they're doing. But that starts to cause them to trust you. And no one buys from someone they don't like and trust. Now, this is just a drop in the bucket of the psychology of sales, drop. So now I'm going to ask if there are any questions. We've got any questions right now? Will, do we have any in the chat or anything?
I do. Karen, with all of the emphasis that body language has on the way people perceive you, how does that relate to the way that, you know, if you're doing a lot of communication by phone, obviously body language isn't a factor. So how does that affect the way that you communicate?
Strictly on the phone, Les?
Yes.
Okay, strictly on the phone. I feel like you still have to have the same and not use, I mean, be very careful about your body language when you're talking to people, because we read into that. I used to teach my people to use a mirror so they could watch themselves. So they knew they were smiling and they communicated so much better.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Richard wants to know, how do you know people are smiling with masks on?
That's true. That's true. Right now it's a whole still different story. But if you're on Zoom, I can tell if you're smiling or not because your mask has been removed.
Yeah, also, I think we've really started look at their eyes really closely. Yeah, Andy just said that. I think that we can watch that in the eyes as well. You can tell if somebody's smiling.
True, true. You see more of my wrinkles.
Wisdom lines.
Oh, I like that, wisdom lines. Any other questions or comments?
Great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have actually told people behind my mask that I'm smiling at them, that I'm good with what they've said, that you can't, I'll actually say, you don't know it, but I'm smiling at you.
No, that's great. Great feedback, Linda. Thank you. If there's no other questions, I'll turn it right back to Glenda. Thank you.